I wanted to make sure like that this dream meant something at the end of the day, because this young man, lost his life throughout this journey.
Shocking. AR-15s, drugs, 1,000 bottles of baby oil, and other terrorist paraphernalia were found in Diddy's lavish mansion. Did you know? According to experts, this damaging detail makes the music mogul's case more serious than ever. In addition, a highlight of this video is that we will provide details of Diddy's disturbing reactions at the latest court hearing. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. The recent investigation of Sean Diddy Combs' opulent Miami Beach residence has culminated in a federal indictment, which was made public on Tuesday. The indictment paints a disturbing picture of the music mogul, alleging that he has been engaged in troubling behaviors toward women for over a decade. According to the legal documents, these actions contributed to a pervasive environment where such misconduct was not only tolerated, but also seemingly encouraged. The indictment details a series of incidents that date back to 2008, indicating a long-standing pattern of behavior in which Combs allegedly pressured women and others into compliance with his wishes. This includes instances of coercion, manipulation, and intimidation, raising serious questions about his treatment of those around him. The breadth of these allegations suggests a systemic issue that extends beyond isolated incidents, pointing to a troubling culture within his personal and professional circles. Among the more alarming references in the indictment is a specific situation involving Combs' former girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie Ventura. The indictment claims that certain actions taken by Combs towards Cassie were recorded, providing a tangible account of his alleged misconduct. While the details of the recording have not been disclosed, its existence is indicative of the gravity of the accusations against him. Such recordings, if made public, could further tarnish Combs' reputation and expose the darker aspects of his personal relationships. These allegations have surfaced against the backdrop of a growing societal awareness regarding issues of power dynamics and the treatment of women in various industries, particularly in entertainment. Combs, who has been a significant figure in the music world for decades, has previously faced scrutiny regarding his behavior towards women, but this indictment marks a significant escalation in the seriousness of the claims against him. The implications of the indictment are vast, not only for Combs, but also for the wider entertainment industry. As a prominent figure with considerable influence and wealth, Combs has often been viewed through a lens of admiration and respect. However, the revelations outlined in the indictment challenge this narrative, calling into question the accountability of high-profile individuals in positions of power. The indictment reflects a growing trend toward holding influential figures accountable for their actions, particularly in the wake of movements like #MeToo, which have shed light on systemic issues of harassment and abuse. The increasing willingness of victims to come forward and speak out against their abusers has created a shift in how such allegations are perceived and treated within society. Combs' legal team has yet to issue a formal response to the indictment, but the music mogul's high-profile status suggests that he will mount a vigorous defense. Legal analysts speculate that he may seek to discredit the claims made against him, possibly framing them as exaggerated or unfounded. However, the existence of recorded evidence could pose significant challenges for Combs, complicating his defense strategy. Just as expected, Diddy was taken into custody late Monday night in Manhattan, marking a dramatic escalation in a federal investigation that has been unfolding for approximately 6 months. This investigation included thorough searches of his lavish residences in Los Angeles and Miami Beach's exclusive Star Island, locations that are emblematic of Combs' success and wealth. The upturn of these investigative efforts has led to serious allegations that have now resulted in his arrest, shaking the foundations of the entertainment industry. On Tuesday afternoon, Combs made his first court appearance, where a magistrate presided over the proceedings. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense, underscored by the gravity of the situation. Dressed in formal attire, Combs appeared composed, though the seriousness of the charges against him loomed heavily over the proceedings. The magistrate determined that Combs would be held without bail, a decision that underscores the severity of the allegations he faces and reflects the court's concerns regarding his potential flight risk, given his significant resources and connections. During the hearing, Combs stood to address the court, his demeanor calm as he responded to the grave allegations presented against him. With his hands folded neatly in his lap, he expressed his unequivocal stance by pleading not guilty to all charges. "Not guilty," he declared firmly, his voice steady and resolute. This proclamation of innocence set the stage for what is anticipated to be a contentious legal battle, as Combs and his legal team prepare to contest the federal indictment in a court of law. The federal investigation that led to Combs's arrest is multifaceted, delving into various aspects of his personal and professional life. Authorities have gathered substantial evidence over the past 6 months, including testimonies and documentation that allegedly detail troubling behaviors and practices within his inner circle. The fact that investigators conducted searches at his luxurious properties indicates a significant level of scrutiny and suggests that they believe there is pertinent evidence within those walls that could further support their case. In a dramatic courtroom scene that unfolded on Tuesday, prosecutors recommended that Diddy be detained without the possibility of bail, emphasizing the severity of the allegations against him. The U.S. Magistrate Judge Robin Tarnofsky presided over the proceedings and ultimately sided with the prosecution, denying the request made by Combs's attorneys for his release. The legal team had proposed an alternative that involved a staggering $50 million bond, alongside conditions of home detention and electronic monitoring. This request underscored the complexities of Combs's legal situation, reflecting both the gravity of the charges and the resources at his disposal. As the proceedings drew to a close, Combs, who is 54 years old, took a moment to hydrate, a brief respite in what had been an intense session. He was then escorted out of the courtroom without handcuffs, a detail that, while seemingly minor, illustrated a nuanced approach by law enforcement during this high-profile case. As he made his exit, he acknowledged family members present in the audience, reinforcing the personal stakes involved beyond the legal ramifications. After the hearing, Combs's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, addressed the media, reaffirming his client's determination to confront the serious allegations head-on. "Mr. Combs is determined. He intends to address these matters thoroughly. He maintains his innocence," Agnifilo stated, projecting confidence in their forthcoming legal strategy. He further indicated that they would be filing an appeal regarding the bail decision, signaling a commitment to challenge the court's ruling and seek a favorable outcome for his client. Federal prosecutors, however, categorized him as a significant risk. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson articulated the government's concerns during the hearing, stating, "Mr. Combs has faced allegations of misconduct over many years. He is said to have used his company's resources inappropriately." This assertion implies a troubling pattern of behavior, suggesting that Combs may have leveraged his power and influence not just in personal dealings, but also in a professional context, utilizing his company's assets to facilitate or conceal his alleged misconduct. The indictment against Diddy paints a chilling portrait of the music mogul as the orchestrator of a network engaged in a range of serious offenses, including trafficking, labor issues, and other alarming allegations. Central to these charges are organized events referred to as freak-offs, which the indictment claims Combs actively coordinated and participated in. These gatherings, purportedly designed for sexual entertainment, have been characterized as highly structured and meticulously documented, suggesting a level of premeditation and organization that raises profound legal and ethical concerns. According to the details outlined in the indictment, Combs did not merely play a passive role in these events. Rather, he was deeply involved in the production and management of the performances, This included the facilitation of travel arrangements for participants, implying that Combs exercised considerable control over those involved. The ability to influence and determine the logistics of these gatherings speaks to a troubling power dynamic, wherein participants might have felt compelled to comply with his wishes due to his status and resources within the industry. The indictment also notes that Combs would often offer financial assistance to those involved in the freak-offs, further indicating a potential strategy to maintain influence and control over their careers. By providing monetary support, he may have created a dependency that left participants vulnerable to manipulation, complicating their ability to decline participation or to speak out against any misconduct. This financial entanglement could have served as a means for Combs to reinforce his authority, thereby enabling an environment where individuals felt pressured to conform to his demands. Moreover, the nature of these events is described as arduous and physically taxing. The indictment indicates that participants often required medical attention following these lengthy performances. This alarming detail raises questions about the conditions under which these events were held and the potential disregard for the well-being of individuals involved. The implication that medical assistance was necessary after participating suggests not only a concerning lack of oversight, but also hints at the exploitative nature of these gatherings. Such circumstances call into question the ethics of Combs' actions and the potential harm inflicted on those he engaged with. The recent federal indictment against Diddy has unveiled a disturbing array of findings from law enforcement searches conducted at his homes in Miami Beach and Los Angeles. During these investigations, authorities seized an alarming collection of items that raises serious questions about the environment in which Combs has operated. Among the materials confiscated were narcotics and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, indicating not only potential drug-related activities but also hinting at the nature of the organized events referred to in the indictment. The sheer quantity of baby oil and lubricant found is particularly noteworthy, as it suggests a premeditated and possibly systematic approach to the types of events that Combs allegedly coordinated. This raises troubling implications regarding the treatment of individuals involved in these gatherings, emphasizing the need for further scrutiny of the conditions and expectations placed upon participants. The presence of these items may point to a culture of exploitation and manipulation, where the boundaries of consent are blurred by the influence of power and resources. In addition to these materials, the indictment reveals that law enforcement also discovered firearms and ammunition at Combs' residences. Among the weapons seized were 3 AR-15 rifles with defaced serial numbers, which is a serious violation of federal laws concerning firearm ownership and registration. The presence of a drum magazine, capable of holding a larger number of rounds, further amplifies concerns regarding the potential for violence associated with these firearms. Such findings not only raise red flags about Combs' legal ownership of these weapons, but also highlight the potential for dangerous situations, particularly given the context of the allegations against him. The indictment specifically states that Combs himself has been known to carry or brandish firearms to intimidate and threaten others, including victims and witnesses of his alleged abuse. This revelation is particularly chilling, as it paints a portrait of a man who may have leveraged his power and resources to instill fear in those who might speak out against him. The use of firearms as a tool of intimidation points to a deeply troubling power dynamic that can emerge in environments where abuse occurs. It raises significant ethical questions about Combs's behavior and the lengths to which he might go to maintain control over those around him. In response to these serious allegations, Combs's legal representation has sought to distance him from the firearms found in his home. His lawyer asserted that Combs did not personally own the guns, emphasizing that he employs a security company to provide protection. This defense raises questions about accountability and the degree of control Combs exercises over his personal and professional environment. If he indeed employs a security team, The implications are significant. It suggests a lifestyle that not only necessitates protection, but also operates within a context where the potential for violence may be a consideration. As the shadow of potential criminal charges loomed ever closer, Diddy and his associates allegedly engaged in a concerted effort to silence witnesses and victims. According to the indictment, this intimidation campaign involved offering bribes and concocting false narratives to manipulate perceptions of the events in question. This strategy reflects a calculated attempt to undermine the integrity of any potential investigations, showcasing a disturbing willingness to use coercive tactics to protect his interests. The indictment further details a chilling incident in which Combs, alongside an unidentified co-conspirator, is accused of kidnapping an individual at gunpoint just days before Christmas in 2011. This audacious act allegedly aimed to facilitate a break-in at another person's home, illustrating a brazen disregard for the law and the safety of others. Such criminal behavior underscores a troubling pattern of conduct that the prosecution suggests has been woven into the fabric of Combs' operations, highlighting an unsettling intersection between his public persona as a successful mogul and the darker elements of his private life. In the weeks following the alleged kidnapping, prosecutors claim that Combs escalated his criminal activities further by setting fire to an individual's vehicle. The method employed, slicing open the convertible top and dropping in a Molotov cocktail, evokes images of premeditated violence and a deliberate intent to instill fear. This incendiary act not only signifies a blatant disregard for property and safety, but also raises serious questions about the lengths to which Combs was willing to go to intimidate others or settle scores. The fact that such violent acts were allegedly committed amid the backdrop of his extensive global music, lifestyle, and clothing empire paints a complex picture of a man whose public success starkly contrasts with his alleged criminal undertakings. It didn't stop there. The turning point in this narrative came in November, when Cassie Ventura, professionally known as Cassie, filed a lawsuit against Combs. In her legal claim, she detailed years of meaningful mistreatment, asserting that Combs exerted pressure on her to engage in situations she did not want to be in, often placing her in uncomfortable and challenging environments. Cassie's allegations painted a portrait of a manipulative relationship marked by emotional and possibly physical intimidation, shedding light on the darker aspects of their time together. Although the lawsuit was resolved quickly, the revelations sparked widespread media attention and discussion about the treatment of women within the entertainment industry. The situation escalated further when, just a few months later, CNN released hotel security footage showing a confrontation between Combs and Ventura. The footage presented a stark and unsettling glimpse into their relationship, fueling public speculation and concern regarding Combs' behavior. In response to the video's release, Combs publicly expressed remorse, stating, "I was disgusted when I did it." This admission, however, did little to quell the rising tide of allegations against him. Instead, it only intensified scrutiny regarding his actions and their implications for those around him. The indictment subsequently alludes to the incident with Ventura without explicitly naming her, but it does suggest that Combs attempted to influence a hotel security staff member in connection with the situation. This behavior raises significant ethical questions, implying a possible attempt to manipulate the narrative surrounding his actions and protect his public image. Such maneuvers further complicate the already challenging landscape of accountability and transparency, particularly for someone in Combs' position, where power dynamics can lead to exploitation and abuse. Combs and his legal team have categorically denied similar allegations presented in other lawsuits, indicating a robust defense strategy aimed at countering the narrative being constructed against him. Their stance suggests a belief in his innocence, positioning Combs as a victim of unfounded claims rather than a perpetrator of misconduct. However, the sheer volume and nature of the allegations have cast a long shadow over his legacy, leading many to question the authenticity of his public persona. In the midst of a tumultuous legal battle, Sean Diddy Combs's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, candidly acknowledged that Combs is not a perfect person. This admission came during a court appearance as he sought to contextualize the allegations against his client. Agnifilo elaborated on Combs' past struggles with substance use and the challenges he has faced in various relationships throughout his life. These personal experiences have undoubtedly shaped Combs's character, and Agnifilo emphasized that Combs is currently pursuing treatment and therapy, suggesting a commitment to personal growth and accountability. Agnifilo's defense strategy focused on questioning the very foundation of the case against Combs, arguing that the charges originated from a single long-term relationship that encountered difficulties. While he did not specify the individual at the center of these claims, it was apparent that he was alluding to Combs's long and public relationship with Cassie Ventura. By framing the allegations as stemming from a complicated romantic history rather than systemic abuse, Agnifilo sought to humanize Combs, portraying him as a flawed individual rather than a predator. The attorney argued that the so-called freak-offs, events tied to the allegations of coercion and trafficking, were not exploitative in nature but rather an extension of the dynamics within Combs's personal relationships. He stated, "Is it trafficking? Not if everyone is willing," a bold claim that insinuated that all participants had consented to their involvement in these events. This defense is predicated on the notion that the interactions were consensual and voluntary, thereby challenging the prosecution's narrative of manipulation and control. Agnifilo's assertion implied that the authorities were encroaching upon Combs's private affairs, seeking to criminalize aspects of his personal life that should remain out of judicial reach. In stark contrast, prosecutors presented a more damning perspective of Combs's actions. They revealed that they had interviewed over 50 individuals connected to the case, suggesting a substantial amount of evidence collected from various sources. This number, they indicated, was likely to increase as the investigation continued. Prosecutors plan to utilize an array of evidence, including financial records, travel itineraries, communication logs, and videos related to the events in question. This multifaceted approach aimed to create a comprehensive case that would illuminate the alleged patterns of behavior and misconduct associated with Combs. Throughout the proceedings, Combs displayed a range of reactions. At times, he nodded in agreement with Agnifilo's statements, suggesting a level of engagement and alignment with his attorney's defense strategy. In other moments, he leaned in to discuss particulars with his legal team, indicating a keen interest in the unfolding dialogue. However, he also maintained a composed demeanor, observing other parts of the session with a neutral expression, gazing straight ahead as the legal arguments played out. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams brought to light the complex web surrounding Sean Diddy Combs during a news conference on Tuesday, emphasizing that Combs did not operate in isolation concerning the recent legal allegations. Williams underscored the involvement of Combs's security and household staff, as well as influential figures within the music industry, suggesting that a network of individuals may have assisted in enabling and managing activities that have led to the current indictment. Williams detailed how these associates reportedly played roles in handling various logistical issues, such as managing damages to hotel rooms and facilitating financial transactions related to different services. This revelation indicates a troubling infrastructure that potentially facilitated the alleged misconduct, raising serious questions about accountability not just for Combs, but for those who supported him in his endeavors. A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and received a key to New York City. Today he faces serious legal challenges, Williams remarked, starkly contrasting Combs's recent celebration as a prominent figure in New York with the gravity of the allegations now facing him. This key to the city, once a symbol of honor and recognition, took on a different meaning in light of the current circumstances, highlighting the precariousness of fame and the potential for rapid shifts in public perception. In a poignant turn of events, it was noted that Combs returned the key to the city in June, following a request from Mayor Eric Adams, signifying an awareness of the shifting tides of public sentiment and the weight of the allegations. Williams pointed out that the investigation is still active, and he encouraged anyone with information about this case to come forward promptly. This call to action indicates a commitment to uncovering the full extent of the alleged misconduct, suggesting that more witnesses or evidence may still be forthcoming, potentially complicating Combs's defense. The stakes are exceedingly high for Combs, as a conviction on all charges outlined in the indictment could lead to a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison, with the grim possibility of a life sentence looming over him. Such potential penalties underscore the severity of the accusations and the gravity with which the judicial system is treating this case. Combs, the founder of Bad Boy Records, has faced legal challenges before, but has managed to navigate them successfully in the past. For instance, in 2001, he was acquitted of charges related to a shooting at a Manhattan nightclub in 1999, an incident that left 3 individuals injured. The high-profile nature of that case and his eventual acquittal were pivotal moments in his career, allowing him to maintain his status in the music industry. However, the shadows of past legal entanglements haunt Combs, particularly considering his former protege, Shine, who was convicted of assault and other offenses stemming from the same nightclub shooting incident. Shine served approximately 8 years in prison, serving as a stark reminder of the consequences that can arise from involvement in violent altercations, especially within the music industry. The connections between Combs and his associates raise significant questions about the culture that has pervaded the hip-hop scene, where loyalty and the interplay of power dynamics can sometimes lead to disastrous outcomes. What do you think about Diddy's case? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.